When it comes to working with selectors, there are also various combinators which come into the picture. A combinator is something which shows you the relationship between the selectors by combining multiple CSS selectors. There are generally 4 combinators which CSS provide us, and they are descendant, selector or combinator, that is a space, child selector or a combinator which has a greater than sign. Then we have the adjacent sibling selector where you use the plus sign, general sibling selector where we use tilde sign. All these are unique in a way for dealing with complex styling situations. With the help of combinators, you would be able to alter all the elements which are of the same type, rather than just changing one element at a time. Another usage is that you will be able to easily target the child elements of a particular element without affecting the parent element and many other things. So let's start learning these combinators and understand them more precisely. When it comes to working with selectors, there are also various combinators which come into the picture. Let's discuss what is a combinator. Combinator is something which shows you the relationship between the selector. There are various combinators which we will be learning, starting with the descendant combinator, also called as descendant selector. So the descendant selector is used to match all the elements which are descendants of a specified element. Think of this as a parent-child relationship. By using descendant selectors, you can target the contents more precisely based on the relationships. So if there are certain child elements residing inside a parent element and you want to apply styling to those child elements, you will use the descendant selector. Let's see an example quickly. In the body, I will first define a division with class myStyle, which will contain an h2, h3 and 2 paragraphs. We'll give an hr here and defining another division with h2, h3 and 2 paragraphs. Now let me add few styling to this division. I will say div.myStyle using the class selector here. Now if we check the output, the styling is applied to all the elements which are inside this division. Let's say I want these styling to be applied on paragraphs only, so I will give p here. So what this means is that you want to target all the paragraph tags defined inside this division which is having the class myStyle. So this div becomes a parent element and the paragraph becomes the child element. So if you look at the browser, only the paragraphs are now displayed with the styling. This is what the descendant selector does. Now if I give a comma in between, the styles will be applied to all the paragraph tag it can find inside the document along with the div tag with the class myStyle. So adding comma works as a separator, but in descendant selector, we don't use separator unless you wish to target elements like this, where I have given the descendant selector and a simple element selector. So the browser will read all the h2 defined inside the document and will display the styling. Now let's talk about relative question. Explain the use of descendant selector. So this selector is used to match all the elements which are descendants of a specified element, as I mentioned earlier, just like a parent-child relationship. The next question is, what will you do to select all the descendant paragraphs which are inside this div? You'll have to use div, then the paragraph with a space, that is to select the descendant paragraphs which are inside the division. The third question is, explain what this syntax will do. And the syntax is div.my-style space p, and then you have style in the curly brackets. So it will select the paragraph which is inside the division having the class myStyle. So only these paragraphs are selected, but not the H1 or other elements. Now you know the terms parent element, child element, and their relationship. Well, the child selector is somewhat like that. It is very similar to descendant selector. Consider this scenario which we saw in the previous lecture. The only change I will do here is I will define this paragraph inside a section tag. Let's check the output and let me represent the same output in the hierarchical form as well. Here division is the parent. This paragraph and section are direct children of the division, and this paragraph inside section is a grandchild of the division. What I mean to say is this paragraph isn't the direct child. Let's proceed further now. So talking about this division, it contains two paragraph tags as child elements, and the second paragraph is defined inside the section tag. So if I give styling like this, I'll say division dot my style space p. Let me add color, font style, font size, weight, and family. Now the styles are getting applied to the descendant paragraphs of the division. But what if I want to apply this styling only to the first paragraph, which we can also say as the direct children of the div tag? So it means this paragraph tag inside the section will not be targeted by the style sheet. We don't want to target that. First thing which you can think of is, why not just give a class name to this p and apply the styling? I'll say p dot giving the class name, and you can see we have achieved what we wanted. But this approach is still a lengthier one. The shorter approach or the better approach is that we use the child selector. So if I just remove the class name and add the greater than sign, and if we look at the browser, you can see there is no change. So what child selector does is it's going to match, or it's going to select the elements which are direct children of a specific element. So if I give child selector like this, it's going to select all the paragraph tags which are direct children of the division tag, but won't select the paragraph which is inside the section tag because it's not the direct child of this division. So that's how the child selector works. Now let's talk about a relative question. Explain what is the use of child selector. So the child selector is used to select the elements which are direct children of the given parent element. The next question, which is a kind of assignment, in which how will you select the immediate child of the paragraph in below given code. So we have already seen the child selector in this session. So you will use the paragraph greater than span syntax to select the immediate child of the paragraph tag. In this lecture, I am discussing about the adjacent selector. It is very useful and can save a lot of your time dealing with more complex CSS styling. So as the name says, the adjacent selector is used to select the element that is directly after another element. In simpler words, looking at this example, you can say that this paragraph tag is right next to the H3. That means H3 and this paragraph are on the same level, thus making them adjacent to each other. Let's understand that with the help of an example. Let me create a document which contains multiple elements. I'll say div here and will define 3 paragraphs. Also, I want an H3 tag here. I'll copy this div and paste it 3 more times. Also, to separate them, I'll use the HR tag. So we have defined the document. Now let's say every immediate paragraphs after every H3 should share the same styling. So your first approach will be to define a class for that paragraph and give that class to rest of the paragraph tags, right? But isn't that time consuming and not to mention a lengthy process as well? This is where the adjacent selector comes in, as this h3 is adjacent to paragraph. That is, all these paragraph tags are coming immediately after every h3. So what I'll do is I'll use the adjacent selector here by giving the plus sign. This means that it will select all the paragraph tags which are adjacent to or coming right after the h3 tag. Let me define some styling here. So as you can see in the browser, all the adjacent paragraphs are now sharing the same styling. The adjacent selector is very useful for styling the elements which are defined in a proper, consistent structure. Well, if you want that only particular section should get this style, in that case you have to use the class attribute like this. Just remember that when using the adjacent selector with parent elements, the sibling element, that is the element which you want to select, should have the same parent element. Now let's talk about a relative question, which is an assignment. How will you add background color to h3 by using adjacent selector? So if you have to get the answer to this, the code will be you use div plus h3, that is for the adjacent selector. So you can easily select the adjacent element h3 for adding background color. Let's try this practically. So here we have the div plus h3. Let me set the background color and you can see that it is applied. The next question is, explain what will happen if I add style like this. For example, I say div dot heading plus p and I give color yellow. So the color will be applied to the paragraph which is coming immediately after the div tag. Do note that there is adjacent selector given here, which means the paragraph is not inside the div. It is at the same level and the very next element to the division. The attribute selector allows you to select the elements based on their attributes and value of those attributes. Whereas we see that the class and ID attribute allows you to style the element based on a single attribute type. So let's look at few examples and also understand the syntax. Inside body, I will define two paragraphs and will apply class attributes to both of them. I'll say class myStyle and para. Now I will define an unordered list and inside I'm going to define links. I'll give anchor tag, defining the href and also giving the target attribute is equal to underscore blank. Giving two more LIs. So right now if we check the output, it looks something like this. Now let's say I want to style the anchor tag, or rather want to apply style to particular anchor only. So your approach generally may look like this, where you have the a.link and this is how you give various CSS rules. So you'll give the class name to it and apply the styling. But as I mentioned earlier, the ID attribute will target single element and class can target multiple elements. But if you want that instead of the attribute name, you want to target the value of the attribute, you use the attribute selector. So let me give the attribute selector here in the style. I'll say A and the square brackets, and inside I give the attribute name, let's say target here. So this is how the syntax looks like, where we have the element in the square bracket, we have the attribute. So let's say A square bracket target. Let me apply color, font style and font weight. Now what this will do is it will select only those links which are having target as their attribute. We have applied target to these two links. So when I open the browser, you can see these two links are having the styles applied because we have given target in the attribute selector. Now if I say target is equal to underscore blank, it will select only that particular link which is having underscore blank defined inside target. So now we are giving the value along with the attribute name. So you can see the first link is being targeted here. Not only that, I can also give href is equal to, let's say, google.com, but here it is going to be case sensitive because we have given the value inside quotes. So I were to access this paragraph, I would have said p class equal to para. This is similar to class selector, but with attribute selector 2, you can get the same result. So this was just the basic syntax for attribute selector. From the next lecture, we will be seeing some advanced syntaxes of attribute selector. Let's talk about a question. I am going to show a practical scenario here. How will you select the paragraph with the attribute selector, which has the name attribute defined and is the direct child of the anchor tag, which is adjacent to the div tag? This is the styling code which you can use to select the paragraph which has the name attribute defined as per the given conditions. Now let's look at the attribute spaced selector. Here is the syntax. When we use the tilde sign with attribute selector, it represents that the attribute whose value is separated by white spaces or not should be selected. So for example, if I define an attribute selector where I want to select all the paragraphs having the class name as my class, I will write like this: p, then attribute selector, class, tilde sign equals my class. So what this will do is it will target the paragraphs whose class name contains the word my class. The class names which are separated by the white spaces and contains the value my class will also get selected, as the tilde sign will ignore the white spaces. In short, white spaces or not, the value gets selected. Let's see this practically. I will define two paragraphs here, one with a class and other without a class, giving a division here, defining two more paragraphs inside this and giving class attribute to this paragraph, but the name will have few white spaces. Now in the styles, let me use simple attribute selector like this, not using the tilde sign here, applying color, font size and style to this. Now in the browser, you see that only the first paragraph is selected. Now I will give the tilde sign here. Let's just save this. And you can see that the styles are being applied to this paragraph as well. Because we wanted this value to be selected despite having white space or not, thus we used the tilde sign. And even if I give class name like this, you can see it is still getting selected. But if I remove the space, then that paragraph is ignored, because now this becomes a whole word despite there being my style in it. Let's talk about the questions. What will be the output of this CSS code, where I have the division hash heading and the greater than sign, and we have the anchor tag and target blank, color red. Now let's break down this step by step. Looking at this code, you can make out the first portion of the code, that is div hash heading, is going to select the division which has the ID attribute heading, as the hash sign is used to denote the ID attribute. After that, the greater than sign is child selector, which will select the direct child of the element given, which is in this case anchor tag. So this part will select the anchor tag, which is the direct child of the division. And to be more specific, attribute selector with tilde sign is used. Target tilde equal to blank. Now this will select the target attribute having the value blank despite the value having blank spaces in them. When we use the caret sign with attribute selector, it will select the attributes whose value is prefixed by a given value. For example, if we define attribute selector saying A, that is anchor, and inside brackets href caret sign equals h or even caret equals to hash, then it will select all the anchor tags whose reference name starts with h or the hash symbol. So in the code, I will define unordered list first, then I will define 4 allies inside. Let me define 4 anchor tags here. Now let me give references. Here I'll say href google.com. Here I'll say hash gtx.com and ghi.com. Now let's say I want to apply style to all the links which start with G. So in the styles, I will define attribute selector where I'll say href caret equals to G. Let me add few styles. I'll say color, font style and size. So this styling will be applied to all the links whose reference starts with G. Now if I change this to hash sign, it will select the links which start with hash sign. So this is how the caret sign works with the attribute selector. Let's talk about a relative question. What will be the CSS code if you want to select all the anchor tags which begin with letter C and have target value blank? Also, that anchor tag should be the direct child of the div having class attribute set as heading. So to select all the anchor tags which are direct child of this div, first thing I will write is div.heading, where heading is the class name. Now to select the child anchor tags of div, I'll use the child selector, then A, which is an anchor tag, and attribute selector saying href, as we want to select the links which begin with letter C. I will say caret equals C. Also, we want to select the target attribute which has the value blank. So for that, I write target equals blank, and if you want to neglect the white spaces too, you just give the tilde sign here before equal to. So this will select all the anchor tags which are direct children of division beginning with letter C and have target attribute set to blank. As the caret sign is for prefix value, the dollar sign in attribute selector is for suffix. That is, it selects the attribute whose value ends with the given value. For example, if I define attribute selector where I give the class attribute dollar sign equals n, then this will select all the classes whose name end with n. Let's try this practically. Let me declare 4 paragraphs and giving class, I'll say my dash test. Here I just say my test in camel case, and let me just say my dash T capital test. Now in the styles, if I give attribute selector class dollar equals to test, it's going to select all the classes whose name end with test. As we all know, the class names are case sensitive, so rest of the classes won't be selected despite having the name test. If I change this T to uppercase T, you can see it selects these 2 classes as their name end with uppercase T. Now let's discuss an assignment. select all the links which start with the letter C and ends with .com using the attribute selector. So you can write the styling like this. You say A, that is anchor tag. Inside the brackets, you give the href caret equals to C. This will select the links which start with C, and inside second bracket, you give the $ equals .com. So this will select all the links which end with .com. Whenever we use the asterisk sign for attribute selector, it will select the attribute whose value contains at least one occurrence of the given value. For example, if I declare the attribute selector where I give the class asterisk sign equals G, or maybe pass a string word here, then it will select all the classes which have letter G or word string inside their class names. Let's practically check it. Inside body, I will define two anchor tags. We'll give just the random reference here and a name attribute saying Google link. And here I will just give the reference and target attribute. Now in the style, I want to select the link whose name contains the letter G. So I will say A square bracket open name star is equal to G bracket close. And let me add few styles here: color, font style, and size. So this will give me the link which contains the letter G inside its name attribute, as you can see in the output. You can give any letter or character or even numeric value as long as the element contains that given value. So for example, if I change this G to O, it will still show me this link because it still contains O. If I change the attribute here and say show me the target which contains the letter F, notice that the F is the ending letter here. So in the browser you can see the link targeted. One more thing this attribute provides is that you can ignore the case as well. So if I change this href to uppercase, and if I try to give the attribute selector like this, then of course it's not going to show anything. But if I add the I after the value, it will ignore the case for the given value. Now if I check the browser, you can see the CSS is applied. So I basically is to ignore the case. So the value may be in upper or lower case. It will not mind it. Now let's talk about relative questions. So what will be the output of this CSS code? Division.myStyle, you have a greater than sign, then anchor and href, we have the dollar and .com is used here. Again, you have a square bracket where href star, and then we have V. Assume that we have a code like this where we have a division and inside there are few links. So let's break down the CSS code first. The div.myStyle will select the div which has the class name defined as myStyle, as the dot sign is used as class selector. Then after we have the greater than sign which is child selector. This will select the direct child elements of the div. So div.myStyle greater than anchor will select all the anchor tags defined inside the div. Now further there is a $sign with href which will select the links ending with .com, and after that there is an asterisk sign with href which will select the link that contains the letter V inside them. So this code will actually select this particular anchor tag where it ends with .com and has V somewhere in the value. When we use the pipe sign in attribute selector, it will select the attributes whose value is exactly same as the given value, or the given value is followed by the hyphen sign. For example, if I define the attribute selector where I say class pipe sign equals test, Then it will select all the classes which begin with the value test. Note that this value will only be selected if one of these conditions are matched. So in the first condition, if it finds the word test, then the class will get selected. In the second and third condition, if the word test is found with the hyphen sign, then also the class will be selected. If the class name comes after the hyphen sign, then the class will not get selected. Also, you give the name class equal to test style, then it won't get selected either. Let's check this practically. I will define 3 paragraphs with 3 different class names: my style, and my-style. Now let me apply styles to these paragraphs using attribute selector. I want to select all the classes which start with name my. So if I give here an asterisk sign equals to my and giving the styles like color, font size and style, then all these paragraphs will be selected as they all start with the word my, which you can see in the output as well. But when I change it to the pipe sign instead of asterisk, then you can see the second paragraph is set to default styling. Why? Because this class name does not follow the parameters which the hyphenated selector offers. As we saw in the example a few minutes back, that the class name given in camel case will not be selected by this attribute selector as it does not have a hyphen. Let's talk about questions. How will you apply CSS to all the sibling paragraphs of division with their class name using hyphenated attribute selector in this HTML code? So if you want to select all the sibling paragraphs of division, first thing you will write is div and then the tilde sign. The tilde sign is used to select the sibling elements. Now to select the element paragraph, we give p here and then attribute selector. As we want to select the classes starting with the style, so inside brackets you give class pipe equal to style. Thus this will select the sibling paragraph of the division by their class names.